All right, I think we're gonna go ahead and get audio checks underway here.
Sounds good. Audio included. Check one, two, check one, two.
Yep, and you already sound fine, so we should be okay there.
Beauty.
All right, hello everyone, welcome on board. Here for another week of XRS racing. We're here coming to you live from mid-Ohio. And the field just started, wrapped up with qualifying here. We're going to take you... Switch off that screen there. There we go. Now you're able to see everything here. So we're just sitting in the lobby here today, waiting for cars to get rolling and everyone to get readied up. There is a little bit of a time window in between, still figuring out the exact starting order of the field and such things. Others, they might take advantage of this little break before the race begins to, get a drink, relax, use the bathroom, do whatever they need to do, so then hopefully at the start you do not need to go through a whole process again leading into the following couple couple of parts of the race that will hopefully not be disturbed. But we're here this week at Mid-Ohio. This is a challenging road course to many, and AK obviously a huge shift going from the World Center of Racing Daytona International Speedway last week to now straight into it, the first road course race of this season. What will be the massive shift in the differences of the drivers, and what are we going to really see tonight going to a road course right away?
I mean, obviously, you're going from a giant speedway where, I mean, you're just on the gas 99% of the time, unless there's a crash in front of you, to now you're turning both left and right, and now you have to brake. So, I mean, it's just going to be getting your braking points down. It's going to be a huge challenge here. Getting the corners right, hitting your apexes. Um, this track has some speed elements to it, but it also has some slow corners, right? So often to turn number one, you just have a wide left turn, and then you have a very sharp right turn immediately after that to a long straightaway. So there's opportunities to pass here and send it down the inside and get some passing and gain some spots up. So it should be a good race tonight.
Yeah, we're going to have a little bit of a smaller field. We had a packed house last week at Daytona, but that is to be expected for the first race. Have a packed house, couple drivers go home. Here this week, road course racing drives a little bit of a different audience from what you can expect. A lot of people are expected. Oh, excuse me, are expected to show up at Daytona. But Mid Ohio, this was a track that I even heard some drivers prior to the race this weekend going, really? We're going straight to Mid Ohio, a road course that some people feel that is this even suitable for the Cup cars? And to each your own, in all fairness. We did try to come up with a road course tune last minute. All the other ovals that we're going to do have set tunes ready for them. So we will be trying to get lap times for the rest of, or the amount of laps for the rest of the schedule posted, and we'll try to get everything finalized coming up this week. Because next week you get sort of a bye week for. We get sort of a bye week for in terms of our season 14 Cup season here, but we're still going to be racing NASCAR. Next week will be first ever like officially sanctioned premium event. We want to do this every year when we can. We're bringing in the Daytona 500. So next week, later tonight or probably tomorrow, more than likely at some point, we will be releasing the signups and registration for the Daytona 500. So the Daytona 500 is its own event. It is not a part of this season that we're currently in. It is going to be its own weekend event. We're going to be holding different qualifying sessions throughout the week, and that is everything that is going to happen. As the lobby now loads in now, and we're going to go ahead, let's try to get you the starting order ready for you here. There we go. So the overlay popped in a little bit faster than how fast they're able to load in the field. It's going to take a while to get around for this pace lap, so we do have a little bit of time here to go through the field when we can. But that is the starting order for you tonight. The top 10 on the starting grid. JSR Blackened able to get the pole here today. His first pole this season. And I'm just going to make sure here as the screen loads in that the overlays are in properly. And yeah, they
Might
should
need
be.
to get a lobby restart here.
And yep, it looks like they are. So this is expected based off of how everything went last week. There was a lot of technical difficulties that Forza is actually giving us during this time. And it has to deal with a handful of things. One, it has to deal with...
Forza specialties, as they're calling it by the race control.
Forza specialties. I like that one.
Hello.
So having to deal with a lot of things. So a couple glitches that could be happening is one, when we first load into the event, there's going to be a ghosting glitch to where certain cars will not ghost into each other or are ghosting into each other when they shouldn't. So that's one of the effects. Another effect when we run a race with a handicap, whether if it's a grip handicap or mainly a grip handicap. There's no grip handicap for this week, but that doesn't mean this can still happen. All of a sudden, your grip goes away and you can't brake. Kind of needed for a road course, being able to have that ability to brake and slow down. So we want to make sure that glitch is out of the way. And these are just things that end up happening, and it sucks. It really does, but fortunately, this is the way around it. Luckily, we have more time to go through the starting grid here. So JSR Blacken, as I said, on pole. NWR Silent, making his way to P2. RZX U5A MVP, P3. Devon FM in P4. Tomato Drifts, P5. LMP Amoeba in P6. King Cameron in 7th. EMC, a couple EMC Vision guys here. EMC Vision in P8. And EMC Bravo in P9. And then rounding off the top 10, three-time Cup Series champ, Kart Racer. So, now with that starting grid, kind of expected. We expected the EMC guys, LMP, King Cam, Blackened, and MVP. Really expected all of those guys to be up here. Tomato, another one. But some other guys, once again, half are roughly guys that we haven't really seen raced in XRS before. Okay, JSR Blackened, he was formerly JSR Razor, or Just Razor, or RZX Razor, however far back you want to go. So he was formerly Razor. He's been around, won multiple championships, and he's a road course ringer for sure. MVP, another road course ringer that we've had in the past. Tomato Drifts, he's kind of been a jack of all trades. When he's here, we know he's fast. He can be easily up in that top 10, top 5 speed all the time. LMP Amoeba made his first impression last season. So we know a little bit about him, not too much about him yet. King Cameron, haven't seen him in XRS in a while, so hopefully this could be the first of many future starts. The EMC guys, we kind of expected the EMC guys to perform out here a little bit on the road courses, and they're showing it here, earning top 10s in qualifying. And then Kart Racer rounding off. Kart Racer, he's been improving slowly, little by little, season by season, that road course performance. So definitely him being able to go out there, improve that performance, it's showing out today.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's no real, like, look at the top 10. There's not a real super surprise, like, oh my God, this person's here. It looks like they've really improved on their road courses. It's just a lot of the guys that, we knew were good at road courses. We knew coming into the season would probably be a couple heavy hitters coming into the road courses. So I think overall, I think our top 10 is fairly calm rather than how it was at Daytona with some people being eliminated who we thought might make the race, some people in the top 10 who we maybe didn't know were good at Daytona or ovals in general until that first race. So I think this is a lot tamer qualifying top 10 than what we saw last week, but still should be a good race nevertheless.
Now, one thing I want to kind of incorporate here, AK, is a key difference that we will see. Obviously, when you go to a road course, there's going to be the obvious differences, right? But a key difference that drivers didn't really get a chance to show last week, but will be able to show this week, different tire compounds in your pit strategy. Being able to run a soft, medium, hard tire. The hard tires, we're only running on 2 times wear. So 2x tire wear, you're not really going to see the hard tires go into effect. Although we did have a race or two last year where some people attempted our hard tires, and it actually kind of worked out for them, but it's not a good majority strategy. It's kind of a throw it to the wall. I think, AK, I don't know if you remember this, you would call this a Vegas strategy of just throwing it out there and doing what you can. Could we expect to see that with how fast the portions of some of this track are, but also how slow it is? Is the hard tire going to be viable, or for the most part, are we just going to see softs and mediums?
I mean, I definitely think for the most part you will see softs and mediums. However, to say a car may not try it right off the bat, who's maybe farther back in the field, it wouldn't shock me if a car that's in, 15th or beyond goes for it and hopes that the race runs perfectly clean, or the race runs mostly clean, and then they're just out the entire time or out majority of the time for this race, and then in the last second they switch to softs. It definitely could happen. Will it happen? I don't know. However, it could, like I said, if there's someone, if it's going to happen, I would bet my money that it's going to be someone who's 15th on back, who knows maybe, hey, I'm not too fast at road courses. So what am I going to do? I'm going to outlast everyone in the pit cycle. I'm not going to pit until like I absolutely have to in the last, like, I don't know, 10, 15 laps of the race, where the tires are actually gone now because they're hards, and then switch to a soft to gain that speed. So, could happen. Will it? I don't know.
A big thing to know when to really switch those different tire compounds, as I believe Kart is trying to reset the lobby in certain ways by changing the track layout, then going back to the original layout, hopefully to clear up a lot of the glitches that could occur. But from what I noticed, last season we were able to do one road course race in the next-gen cars. So I'm going to go off of that one race that we ran at Watkins, but then also the previous road course races that we ran in the different car, where we ran the 1988 Bob Sharp Nissan. And in those races, mixed in with the next-gen race, a lot of the guys at the back in the beginning elected to go on a softer compound to start the race. Rather than the ones up front, they decided to go on the medium tires because of a key difference that you see at road courses that you don't see at ovals. The lap times are not going to be as close as they were at, let's say, Daytona. Last week, the whole field was within about a half second of each other. So the lap times were insanely close at Daytona, and we can expect that. What you cannot expect is that same difference in lap time here at Mid-Ohio, or any road course for that matter. You can expect really big differences in gaps in the field of being able to know who is going to start where and all of that, because road course racing is simply different breed than oval racing, and the lap times, they're going to be separated by a lot. Because here, turn 1, this is a place where you can make a mistake. You can also make a mistake in turn 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever turn. And yes, they are backing out again.
Same problem. No collisions, unfortunately. So this is a Forza problem.
Yep, this is a Forza problem. Nothing that we can really do 100%. And if it doesn't work for another time, then the only thing that they can really do is completely restart this lobby by Kart backing out and making a new lobby, by which they already do anyway, transitioning from practice to qualifying. So we already make that transition from practice to qualifying by making a new lobby. So I don't know if the glitches are becoming so bad that we need to do another lobby reset from qualifying to the race. I hope that doesn't become the case. What we hope is Turn 10 can give us a game that we can load in at the start, but we're working with what we got.
It ain't perfect, but it's not our fault, unfortunately, and it's very much out of our control.
Yeah, so right now, out of our control at the moment. Now, going back to what I said earlier, big separation in the lap time. So the guys up front, they're really going to be running on those medium tires. They're just trying to keep a consistent strategy until they can end on the soft tire. Because towards the end of these races, it can get really close between the road course ringers, or it can't. It's all depending on pit strategy. If you play out your strategy correctly of when you're able to switch between mediums and softs, if you switch between, because I've seen some road course ringers go mediums the whole race until the last couple laps they switch to softs to get extra speed. So it's going to be a mixed bag, I believe, throughout the field, but mainly the top guys, we can expect them to be on mediums for most of the day.
Yeah, for sure. And it's not like the ovals where there's, maybe one, two, three main strategies and then you have a couple off branches. I'd almost be able to guarantee that either every driver will be on almost a different strategy, or every team will be on a different strategy. Because everyone has a different way of how they drive. Everyone has a different way of how they like their tires. Not one person likes their tires the same, especially on road courses. So we're going to see a lot of different strategies coming into this. Like I said, you could see somebody take hard and gamble all the way. That hards will either make it all the way or close enough to all the way where they can make a soft switch right at the end. Or you may see people do two mediums and a soft, or two mediums if they can make their tires last, or all softs, or mediums and softs. There's 100 different ways that this could go.
So here, let's see. This is third time's a charm. I believe they're going to be kind of testing right away. And there the board is reacting really differently, so I'm assuming they got it down. But once again, that's all based off assumption.
Well, I'm not hearing anything from race control, so I'm going to assume that it's working.
All right. Well, we've had the starting order up for a little while here, so we're going to go ahead and take that away temporarily, because obviously we can show it later in the event. But for right now, we're going to get ready. They're going to go through the track at pace speed, and we are going to see exactly how everyone gets lined up and going through the turns here. Right here, this is the very heavy braking zone. Here, turn 2. It's kind of a paperclip, but in between this paperclip, there's an elevation change right in the middle. So it's really affecting when your turn-in point is versus if it were flat, like turn 11 at Sonoma. And it's going to impact when you want to hit the apex, and that's where a lot of guys are going to take advantage of the passing opportunity to have the guy next to you pretty much miss that apex, so then you can get a way better exit going down this corner into turn 3, which is also another passing opportunity if you don't necessarily want to pass them in turn 2. A lot of guys will take advantage here, but this corner tightens up really quick as you then go up the uphill here, and you go through a quick left-hander, then a right-hander. So it goes really quickly once you're actually at speed. And it's even going kind of fast when they're under pace speed here. So it kind of shows you the difficulty there, if I can speak. Oh.
Yeah, and another thing about that section that they're passing through right now is if you mess up that first corner, chances are you mess up the next two. So it's really key that you get that exactly perfect, or else you're going to really lose some time on that section.
All right, cars are going down in the gears. They're getting those RPMs up as we approach the final couple corners here. Come up to this uphill. This will be kind of that entrance to pit road area. Once they swing around here, that's when you're able to make your decision. And now, coming off this final corner, up and through the gears they go. Green flag is out. Race 2 is underway at Mid-Ohio.
Blacken got a good start right off that. Got the jump, got a bit of car length lead now. So he's going to be good here. It's unlike Daytona, where if you get a car length lead, you're really going to be at a disadvantage because of that draft. There isn't a whole lot of draft here, or not enough for them to be able to catch up fairly easily like they can at Daytona.
Amoeba getting heavy into the braking zone there, turn 2. They were 3 wide between Vision, Tomato, and Amoeba. Amoeba got passed already by Vision, trying to hang on to 7th position right now, battling with Tomato. Going into the next braking zone here into turn 3. Looks like NWR Silent tried to make a move, thinks second of it.
Ooh, Amoeba really sent it in. He almost got Vision, but just overcooked just a bit, so Vision was able to get back around him, back on the inside as they enter the next section. Head, go for it, all you.
A lot of cars joggling, moving around here. What you're going to hear a lot is that if we get close, you're going to hear them go over those rumble strips. In certain areas, you want to hit those rumble strips. They definitely help with the rotation of your car, and they're able to help you keep stability going for your apex. But in other places, no, the curb is not going to be your friend, and that could be a factor in getting looser. Not Silent, able to hang it off on the final corner there.
Car around in the back, that's Legend. He spun out on the corner just before this and now, so he spun out twice. Not a great start to the race for him, unfortunately.
All right, and same caution rules apply here for road courses. They were a tiny bit different, road courses and ovals last season. Here, the exact same. It has to be a 2-car incident where that leads to damage. So what that means is that, for example, right here we have Devon FM and Silent racing side by side. If all of these guys, let's say they got together and Silent went off track and he then got damage, that would then still bring out a caution. But if, let's say, Silent was able just to spin by himself, or even if he got a tiny bit of contact from Frodo, but it wasn't significant, then him spinning around and getting no damage, that's going to be no caution called for that one. The reason why I said Frodo is because Frodo ran the 91 last week, so I'm assuming he just changed his gamer tag.
Good fucking save on the back end by Oracle, still loose. Able to save it, really good save by Oracle there. He got tapped in the rear by Zeno. Oracle's very loose right now.
Yeah, we went back to Oracle right as you said that. And here, the difference between Daytona and this track, if you mention someone's name, I can easily go back to them because they're not in a big pack where they can change positions every 2 milliseconds. So I'm able to get to them a lot faster.
Yeah, coming off the second to last corner before the start-finish, he got tapped in the rear bumper and almost lost, was able to save it. So really good save by Oracle there.
But Oracle still losing positions here, not lost another one to EVR Rewar, making a pass to him to driver's right.
Yeah,
and
I
think a big thing in FM7, and I don't know if that's going to become a thing in this game. Oracle still loose again in turn 3. We kind of saw the different manufacturers having different advantages, like the Toyota was better at road courses back on FM7. But here, the cars are pretty much equal, so I don't think we're going to see that big of a difference in the manufacturer's performance today.
No, I don't think so either. I think the difference between FM7 and this game is they've really made sure that these cars are pretty much almost dead even. You can't really, there's not a big enough difference between them that you can say, oh, this one's good at road courses, or oh, this one's good at the bigger tracks like Daytona, or this one's good at the intermediates like at Homestead. There's not really one clear advantage to any of them. They're all very similar, which is a good thing. It's not necessarily a bad thing, as we were almost just lost it on the final corner.
Looks like Kart Racer went into pit road now. So Kart Racer made a dip to pit road. We're riding on board with Xenosity right now, who just made a pass on EMC Bravo a couple corners ago. And then up ahead we see Tython working on Jankum, trying to get around him.
Yeah, and Typhon's another one of those guys that is very fast on these road courses. He came in about, I want to say 2 Cup seasons ago, maybe 3, and he was very fast when he did come in. But again, since then, a lot of tougher competition has come in. So really starting to push these drivers skill-wise and make sure that they are in tip-top when they do enter these races and are the best of the best.
A little bit of bumping there between Xenosity and Jankum. This could get into a good 3-car battle here. Jankum trying to hang it, got a little bit loose off that corner. That's going to allow Xenosity to get to his right. But here, Jenkins going to have the advantage in this apex.
Ooh, little contact. Little bumping.
Tiny bit of contact there. A little bumping, that's fine. That's okay.
I thought Tenacity sent it a little too much into that corner, but he was able to gather it up.
See, that corner is a little bit of a weird corner. That second to last corner, the apex is very wide in that second to last corner. When I drove in these cars last season, or tested the cars, I should say, last season and testing at this track, the apex is wider than you think. It's not really in the center of the corner. It's more towards the end. So Zenocity, I think, actually had a better line through that corner, so it looked like he was sending it, but in reality it's just a very late turn-in. And then I saw some action happening up front. Looks like Blackened has now lost the lead to NWR Silent, so and MVP catching up too. This could be a three-way battle for the lead.
I'd almost be able to wager that it's going to be a four-way between King Cameron. He's, again, not too far behind. He is a little bit back, but I mean, with how close these are, especially on road courses, one mistake by any of these drivers, and they're going to lose 3 spots, 4 spots.
The GOAT has led every lap. Go number 9. Yes, Rocket, but he just lost the lead as you said it. So, maybe don't mention something, Rocket, and then he will get back to the lead.
For once, it's not me jinxing someone, okay? So I'm okay with it.
Hey, well, there it is. So,
or Oracle having a great day, immediately turned around. Like instantaneous.
Right, let's see if I can adjust the ticker here. Let's go by.
Sent it in a little too deep. That opened up the door for MVP now in second place.
Time. There we go. Sorry, was adjusting something there real quick. MVP starting to need a good run on Blackened. Going to look inside this turn. Yes, he will. He's going to dive it down to the inside. Make a clean pass here. Here, MVP still having a tiny advantage. But now if Blackened stays side by side, he won't. But he's going to send it in again through this kind of short corners here. This is a faster corner.
Yeah, for sure. Blackened tried to do a crossover when MVP sends it in, but oh, leader's off up ahead. Silent took the grass route, gave it a long cutting. Able to get back on track, but definitely did lose some time. But as I was saying, Blackened tried to do a crossover on MVP once he sent it in on that third corner there, and it actually costed him more time because the next corner was a left and not a right. So he had the outside line, which means he would go around longer. So he lost a lot more time there had he not crossed it
Looks
over.
like King Cam now going to make a move on Blackened, and he will. Blackened now losing another position, but he's going to be battling, hanging on tough in turn 1. Meanwhile, the leader, NWR Silent, is making his way towards lap traffic. That is Legend, who spun very early in the race as Taihi now goes to pit road. So Legend losing a lot of time here, and he's going to get past. So he will be the first car 1 lap down.
Yeah, but he's doing it right. He's getting out of the leader's way and making sure he's not going to hold up this battle because, again, these leaders are still very close to each other. So he's staying out of the...
paused. I believe he actually... he's ghosted right now, so that means he paused his game. He's going to allow for the leaders to pretty much get by him. He does not want to be a part of it.
Yeah, and as a lap car, you never want to be the reason why someone loses a position or loses the lead or wrecks a lap time, right? So that's a smart move there, I think.
Throughout all this battling, the top 4 cars have now become the top 5 cars. EMC Vision has now made his way. He has caught King Cameron. And kind of 2nd through 5th are all close to each other. Silent, the leader, able to pull away just a little bit, but it's going to be a matter of time before they're able to really, to really get back together. It could be a possibility Silent is ahead right now because he's on soft tires and these guys are on mediums.
Well, as well as you're seeing a lot of battling between these guys 2nd through 5th. But they're also losing a lot of time compared to Silent, who has to deal with literally no one right now. He doesn't have anyone in front of him. He doesn't have anyone behind him that's close enough to challenge him. So he can just run his race, run his lines that he wants to run. While these guys, they're trying to scrape every 0.2 seconds they can get on everyone else around them. So they're battling, changing their lines up slightly to try and get a better time. They're actually losing a bit of time by doing so.
This is getting really close between 2nd through 5th here, and we're going to stay with Vision. We're going to see where he goes if he elects to go somewhere. Let's actually do something we didn't do much last week at Daytona. We're going to ride on board with him. And you're going to kind of hear the throttle controls, see those late apex entries. Right here, this corner I was talking about here, very late apex that you need to turn in.
Yeah, and again, like I said with the racing lines, everyone's going to be trying to hit that optimal racing line. However, for instances when you're around people, you may try and do something a little different as Blacken goes a little wide. That opens up the door for Cameron.
And that was because he hit that inside curve right there in turn 1, right next to that pit road wall. And he hit that curb at the right angle that got him loose off of the corner. So that's what I was talking about earlier in the race. Sometimes you want to hit those curbs, but that turn 1 curb, unless you have a really stable car, you have good control, it's not something that you want to hit. And right there, Blacken hit it at just the right angle to get him loose. Lost another spot there.
Yeah, and like I said, that's just trying to push it a little harder than everyone else around you, trying to get that 0.2 seconds to maybe set up the straight or set up the next corner for yourself. And unfortunately, he just did it a little too much there and paid the price for it.
Getting really close right now between Blacken and Vision. They're racing, they're driving the heck out of those cars. That every time you hear that little bit of screeching noise, yes, that's their tires losing grip. So whenever you hear that, they don't necessarily have the most grip in the world, and it looks like Vision going to make his way to pit road now, and almost missing pit road entry actually. And nope, don't want to do that. Huh?
No, that's definitely
Let's
not
go back to the driver list.
That's definitely not how you get the
Cameron
way wide. Now this opens up the door for JSR. He's going to choose the outside lane. He's going to want to get the runoff into the straight. Smart move. But he got loose off exit, so he lost all that momentum.
Once again, Blacken getting a little loose off a corner exit, costing him a little bit of time here. But it's very early in the race. It's 41 laps, which doesn't seem like a significant lap count, but obviously it takes well over 1 minute to do laps here in comparison to the mere 45 seconds it takes to do a lap at Daytona. So obviously we can expect a smaller lap count, and today we are. So, but we're already 1/4 of the way through this race, and just through that, you see the big difference in the field separation. Between 1st through 10th is around 18, 19 seconds. 19 seconds now, the separation between 1st through 10th.
Yeah, and also another major change here is the cautions, right? Daytona always has a lot more cautions than any other track we go to because it's all wide open, because it's all so close, right? You're in pack racing. You're going to have there's a lot less threshold for error at Daytona, although you might think, oh, it's a wide open oval. How hard could it be? Well, when you're 4 inches away from the driver next to you, in front of you, and behind you,
yep.
Then, yeah, a little mistake can cause a huge mistake for the entire field. So while we're at road courses, you don't see nearly as much caution because, again, drivers aren't nearly as close as they are. You might see a guy spin like we saw Legend spin. You might see guys get loose like we've seen with Blacken, but you won't see a lot of people crash. You won't see multiple car crashes, which is what brings out our caution.
Yeah, and like you said, Daytona, it's a game of inches. Guys are literally inches away from each other, and so one small mistake that one driver makes can cause a whole line of, let's say, 6, 7, 8, 9 cars to all of a sudden check up, and that can create a domino effect to really get a bunch of cars wrecked. So, but here on a road course, not going to have that same separation. These guys are not inches from each other. They're still a couple car lengths from each other. And and another reason why I'm going to mention, again, the lap count here. I did mention it last week, but just in case, going to go through it again, as now the leader goes into pit road, a couple this time. Zenocity, Josh Kurz, and then Subsonic all the way in the back also went down pit road. All the races are designed to be 1 hour in length if the race goes green all the way through. So we don't really take into the account the pace lap, how long that takes, but all of the green flag laps, so pretty much excluding the pace lap, the races are designed to be 1 hour in length with no cautions. Cautions obviously add to the race length, and so on and so forth. So that's why the lap count is dramatically different between all the tracks.
Yeah, and I mean, I think right now we're starting to see the pits come through as one car is way off into turn number 2.
You got a name?
Didn't quite catch who that was. It was Josh Kurz.
All the way in the
He was
back
in
here,
that
P16.
pack ahead of him. In that pack ahead of him and just sent the corner loop too much and spun his car into the sand trap.
Yeah, he was one of those cars that recently just went into pit road, so potentially a little bit of colder tires, not having the exact grip that he wanted, and around he went.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think he lost at least 1, if not 2 spots for that because again, he was kind of in that pack ahead of him, so that could have definitely gone a lot worse. We could have seen a couple of cars involved in that one. But luckily he was able to clear them and just sent it into the sand trap there.
We're going to ride along with a driver who pretty much made the first pit stop of the race, that being Kart Racer in the number 12 Chevy. He was the first driver to go down pit road, so he's been out for now a handful of laps. I have no clue if him pitting that early was necessarily strategy or if he got some sort of damage to his car. So, not necessarily damage from hitting a wall, because then that's just cosmetic damage. You can probably still run at speed even without that in the way. And Subsonic almost getting in the way there. And Legend, with 2 lap cars. Legend going off the track a little bit. And that's going to allow him to close a lot here. Kart Racer going to get to the right side of Xenosity. Going to go to the inside. Clears him before entering the braking zone.
Yeah, Xenosity got hit Legend up ahead of him and coming to that corner. I don't think he was quite anticipating Legend to brake as much as he did, and that completely threw him off. When he went into the next corner on exit, he was just in the grass.
Yeah, and going back to what I was saying about Kart Racer there before that pass, the way that you can really sustain a lot of damage at a road course without really hitting anything, transmission. Transmission that can then lead to engine damage. So leaving the car in gear or shifting down too quickly, all of a sudden you get really high RPMs, and that can affect both the transmission and the engine. Trying to shift too fast can also just break the transmission over time, as now EMC Bravo made his way into pit road. So it could have very easily just been transmission damage, and that's why he pitted that early, but I never know with Kart Racer whether if it's a trick up his sleeve or not.
Well, my thought with that early pit is one of 2 things. Either, like you said, it could have been damaged, either gearbox or something else. Or maybe he realized, hey, this strategy isn't going to work. I'm going to switch strategies because all these cars around me are getting by me really easily. So I'm going to switch my tire compound. That's my 2 thoughts, but it definitely could also be something else that we're not even thinking of here.
Definitely could be. And someone who's recovered quite well a little bit, now they're way into P8, is RZX Oracle. He had very not so much control of his car in the early parts of the race, but now looks like he's got it a little bit under control here, a little bit under the wraps, slowly making his way. Granted, some cars have made their way to pit road, but Oracle not letting the guys behind him necessarily get to them that quickly. Jenkem and Rewar, looks like, and Tython also, all 3 of them trying to have a close battle there in the back, is now Devin FM, who once again I believe is Frodo, is now in pit road. And NWR Silent, who pitted earlier, he is now P4.
Yeah, I think earlier on for Oracle, it was just trying to get into that rhythm of things. He got jostled around a little bit, so I think he lost the rhythm early on, but I think he's finally regained that rhythm of the track. And knowing Oracle, because I was a teammate with him 2 seasons ago, I don't know. During the mini season, we'll say. That's the timeline we'll use. During the mini season, he's
that was a while
pretty
ago.
good at road courses. Yeah, a while ago. He's really good at road courses. At least he was in FM7. I don't know if that's fully translated over to the new game. But yeah, he's good at road courses. So it doesn't shock me he's able to work his way up and keep pace as well once he found his rhythm.
Vision and Shady Phonic got very close right there. Vision able to hang on to it. He's still barely hanging on to it in this corner. He's going to send it. No, he's going to pull back at the last second. Vision really trying to get up to Silent right now. I don't believe Vision has made his pit stop yet. I know Bravo went in, but I don't believe Vision has made his stop yet.
I don't know. I can't say I've seen him going, but I also can't say I haven't seen him going. So,
well, in the way that we've seen guys cycle out so far, with the difference in the separation of the lap times here, it's very much possible that Vision might have already gone in, and I just might have missed it. Now we see Oracle and Kart Racer. Looks like Ray's Peasant as well going into pit road. So Kart Racer now the first guy to go into pit road twice. So this could be strategy change.
Yeah, I don't like just looking.
Because I feel like he went to pit road very early. I think he went into pit like lap 5. He went into pit road.
Yeah, so. Just looking at Vision's damage and all that. I won't say what everything's at, but it looks like his tires are fairly fresh. I do believe he's pit at some point.
All right, so he has gone to pit road, and Vision did make the pass on Silent. So now that makes Vision up to P4. Looks like the leader now, RZX25A MPP, going into pit road. Blackened now going around him. And now Blackened back to the lead.
So yeah, Blacken, again, he's made a couple mistakes early on in this race going off track. Nothing huge, but has definitely cost him some time. It looks like he's, at least for the beginning of this race, struggled a little bit around cars going off of exit. He looks like he got loose a couple times when he was around cars. So I'm sure he's looking for a way to figure that one out and fix it up.
So now what I was kind of mentioning a little bit earlier, how the racing can sometimes be separated but still close amongst the top drivers. Look at the separation of guys who just went down pit road. MVP losing a lot of time obviously to Blackened, but look, he cycled out, he sees Silent and Vision in front of him. So even though there's quite a bit of distance to it, that still can be close racing, and how much can be affected via your pit stops, your strategy, and whether you're going to be fighting in front of people, behind people. And it's really just a matter of pit cycles and the way that you cycle out from each other. So even though you're going to lose a lot of time to whoever will then become the new leader, it's all going to be a matter of distance and how well you play your laps leading up to your pit, and when you get out of your pit, how well do you perform after that as well?
Yeah, for sure. And although, like you said, although these guys look a lot apart, right? First to second's almost 4 seconds. Second to third's another 4 seconds. And if you remember, again, lap 14 to 11, there was a 5-car pack racing for the lead.
Yep.
So it's not that these guys are spread out. It's just they're on different intervals for their pit stops. So it's going to wait until the last 5 laps of the race to actually be able to tell how close everyone it actually is.
Yeah, because for the most part, this is still pit cycle trying to cycle its way out. I believe I have hiccups. That's why I'm struggling here every couple of minutes. But this is where we see pit strategy play into effect at road courses. So you have to be fast at road courses, but you also need to know the strategy. And that's where I think guys like Blackened, MVP, maybe Amoeba as well, those guys are going to have a little bit more of advantage over the other guys because they've been in XRS before in the past. They understand being able to decipher your pit strategies with the tire wears that we run. So maybe a little bit of that veteran experience going to come into play here towards the end, as we're just a lap or 2 away from crossing the halfway mark in this race. And now MVP has now caught Silent, as Shady Phonic has now DNF'd from the event.
Yeah, and the experience is really going to be key to road courses. Again, like you said, with how much tire wear we run, the different tire wears we run, it's gonna play a factor in knowing how, and knowing when to pit and how to pit because of our setup of our race.
Oh, MVP sent it in really hard there. Silent going to try the crossover. Little bit of contact, and Silent goes off track. He's able to hang on to it. He keeps it straight, but a lot of time lost between those two getting together.
Yeah, definitely not what Silent wanted there. I'd imagine he's going to be a little bit heated after that, a little annoyed. But I mean, you just got to keep your head in the race and keep going.
If he is, he might only be a little bit annoyed with himself there. MVP, he made that aggressive move because this is the differences in your pit strategies and everything like that. Silent, he knows he's fast because he was the leader of this race in the beginning. So just in a matter of 10 laps here, the difference between some pit cycles cycling out, Silent has gone from the leader now to 5th, and he could have been 4th, but he definitely lost a lot of momentum after he got loose on his crossover attempt with MVP. So now Blackened going back into pit road again. So once again, rating into the next interval of pit cycles. This will affect where guys are going to cycle out. Tithe into pit road as well. This will all affect how everyone is going to pan out. And now, looks like the leaders are close with each other. Yes, LMP Amoeba and EMC Vision. Vision got the pass done. And he's pulling away. Almost got a second lead off of him pretty much after one corner.
Yeah, and I mean that's how much these entries and exits mean to these, right? Especially on this particular straight, you need to get a really good exit off of turn number 2 there in order to set up that straight. And that's exactly
Amoeba's tires might be falling off here because MVP, he caught up really quickly to Amoeba. And now he's going to easily clear Amoeba, almost as if he wasn't moving. So, AK? Are Amoeba's tires hitting their limit?
Let me take a look here.
Yeah.
1 second.
I don't want to view...
his tires...
Yeah.
I'm not going to say what they're at, but his tires are definitely getting a little worn out. And I think it might be certain to cost him. So definitely wouldn't shock when you see him come in here in the next lap.
Goes in this time.
Yeah, there it is.
There it is. Him and Vision went into pit road. MVP, he was definitely making up a lot of time on Amoeba. Passed him like he was going 20, 30 mile an hour faster. And so that means he was definitely making up time to Vision as well. Subsonic all the way off the track in the background. But luckily, he's not able to get into anyone. So MVP, obviously, he's the one with the fresh tires at the moment, or fresher tires. So we're going to see how long he's able to hang on and if this strategy will work out for him. Because, yes, it's great leading laps right now, but it's only lap 22. You still need to hold out, and you still need to have those fresher tires towards the end of the event, so then you can really be in the right place in the right time. And let's see how much separation that did create. So Blackened is now 18 seconds now behind the leader, MVP. So with that huge difference in separation now, we are going to see this gap slowly shrink. We're going to see that expand just a little bit. So pretty much every 3 steps forward is 1 step back. 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. And so that's the distance that's going to be increasing and decreasing very slowly. Because now with Blackened on the fresh tires, Blackened is going to catch MVP at an astronomical rate, just like how MVP was catching Vision and Amoeba, who fell back to 8th and 9th. So seeing the differences there, we're definitely going to see these gaps between the top couple of guys shorten. Now we have another taker to pit road. Tomato drifts making his way into the pit lane.
Yeah, and like we said, we're not really going to know where everyone's at until that final, I don't know, 10 to 5 laps. That's when we're really going to be able to tell where everyone's at and how everyone's doing.
Now we're really seeing Devon FM making his run now to NWR Silent, which I'm not sure if Devon FM wants me to call him by Devon or Frodo. Because I know this is Frodo. That's his number, and it says Frodo on his windshield banner. So I don't know if he wants me to say Frodo or Devin. And he goes
but he's
off
gone
track.
wide.
I wasn't trying to talk good on you, bud. I was just mentioning what you wanted to call me.
Now who's doing the commentator?
No, commentator's
curse, huh?
curse is when you talk something good about someone and then they do something bad happens. I wasn't saying anything good about Frodo. That was very neutral. It was a matter of I'm not sure what he wants me to call him, by the gamer tag or by the name on his windshield. That was all.
You said he was pressing the charge, so I'm gonna say it's that.
I'm gonna say it's neutral because now Legend goes off track in front of him. So.
Yeah, but he lost a lot of time off of that. I mean, if his tires were better, he should be able to.
Yeah, about a second and
back.
a half he lost there. So, and that's how much, especially going through the slower sections. Silent, obviously, he might have not had the perfect exit, but Silent definitely got a better exit compared to Frodo here. So then with Frodo going off the track in the way that he did, that's what creates that huge separation in time. But it looks like at the moment he is slowly trying to gain a little bit of ground back. So he might have a little bit fresher tires, you never know.
Yeah, and he's just gonna have to continue to get his head back in the game and just slowly but surely claw his way back, get back up to Silent. Again, he showed he had the better pace for that time, obviously until that mistake. So, as he goes off again, just slightly this time, only 2 tires, not all 4, but I mean, he really just needs to get back in the rhythm here.
Big separation now throughout the field. Zenocity going down to pit road. Now that we have some decent gaps in the field, there's not really any really close battles happening at the moment. We're going to go ahead and we're going to go through the field a little bit here, one by one, talk about how everyone's doing so far in this halfway point, and who we could expect to gain positions and then be back up at the front, or maybe they drop off a little bit. So starting with the leader now, RZXU5A MVP. MVP has been really fast for the past 5-6 laps here, and it's obvious that this portion he's going to have the strong strategy, but will this carry over? Will this last? Can he get enough separation that he's not going to lose that much time when he eventually needs to go back into pit road and have enough speed at the end? We will see, but right now, MVP being a strong car right now. Second place, NWR Silent here. Silent, he was the leader at the very early portions of this race, got around JSR Blackened very quickly. He lost a little bit of time through the pit cycles and strategy, but right now he's made his way back up to second place, but we still have another round of pits that we could expect to cycle through here throughout the next couple of laps. So it will be interesting to see whether if Silent is able to recover from falling back from the lead in the early part of the race, or if he's going to stay right here in this track position around P2, P3. Speaking of P3, that would be Devin FM or Frodo. Frodo has made a handful of mistakes here in the past 2-3 laps or so. So we're going to see if he is able to clean that up a little bit and he's going to keep the track position, or will the pit cycle its way out and he's going to get pushed back a couple spots. But so far, Frodo, not a bad run for him today. P4 is King Cameron in the 16 here. There was a lot of trouble previous to this race. Go ahead.
Cart just went way off track. He's lost, I think, about 2 spots here. Was all the way into it at about, I'd say about turn 5-ish. Because after a quick count, he went way into the sand trap, overshot the corner.
So now Cart all the way back P15.
Also, caution cutoff was just called out. It'll be lap number 37. 37.
Okay, so just a little over 10 laps from now is when the caution cutoff will be for this race. So then to that point, no more cautions will be called, even if we get that little interval towards the end of the race like we had at Daytona. So no cautions will be called, and a lot of sand got kicked up here on the screen, so I'm wondering if a car went off track recently in that area. But Cart losing a little bit of time, rewards gaining up to him a little bit here in the draft, so we're going to see how well he hangs on. Going back through the field, let's jump back up to King Cam. King Cameron, there was a bit of trouble incidents there. I will admit to some fault, not all of it. What's not all my fault, but trying to figure out what numbers were taken on the roster and all that. King Cam went through like 3 different numbers before he eventually landed on the 16. Because the previous numbers that he was trying to claim were already claimed. They were claimed on the sign-up, on the actual Cup Series sign-ups, but the numbers weren't updated on the driver roster. So the driver roster is where you really see if numbers are available or not, but I didn't get a chance to update the list entirely. And then I quickly caught up the list, and then Cam selected the 16. So, yeah. The reason why I don't say it's all my fault, not all my fault, because also JSR Blackened, another driver who can approve paint schemes, he should have seen that in the Cup signups that number was already taken. But for sure, we'll leave that to the side. Speaking of JSR Blackened, in 5th place, JSR Blackened made his pit stop.
Drama.
Now he's around 19 seconds back, almost 19 seconds back off the leader MVP. MVP gaining a lot of ground right now. But like we said, MVP, his tires are going to fall at some point, and this gap is going to decrease as time goes on when they eventually need to make their final stop. So it could get close here towards the end. Blackened, we know, is one of those drivers who knows how to do pit strategy fairly well. And all of last season, he pretty much perfected those strategies on the road courses. There's a reason why he won many championships in a row across multiple series. Just couldn't quite get that Cup championship done there last season. This season, definitely looking for redemption for him. Now, this is where we see a big gap. Because 18.5 seconds back from the leader is Blackened, but then 27 seconds back from the leader is the next car, EMC Vision. Vision had a good, strong first half, really the first portion of the race, first 10-15 laps, kind of had a strong portion. Here, I believe he's starting to fall too far back before he can then make up enough ground to actually be up in position towards the end of this race. But you never know with pit strategy, so I'm going to put it in the maybe category of whether or not Vision can make his way up, get into the top 5, top 3, but I definitely think a win is out of the picture unless we get the field regrouped for a caution. LMP Amoeba in 7th. Kind of struggled a little bit hanging onto his car there in the early portions of the race. Literally the first couple of laps, he was sending it in a lot of corners trying to keep control. So he's kind of hovered in this inside the top 10 state for most of the race today. I do expect him to stay in this top 10, but I'm not quite 100% sure on if he has a shot at getting inside that top 5 and beyond. So for Amoeba, we're still going to put in the maybe category. Same thing with Tython here. Tython didn't have a strong start to the very beginning of the race. He kind of hovered in that just outside the top 10, top 15 portion, which is kind of surprising because we expect Tython to be really, really fast on the road courses, but road course racing has improved in XRS over the past couple seasons, and so it's just getting harder and harder to compete at these road courses, and we're seeing it here. Tython, a guy who pretty much dominated road course racing just a handful of seasons ago, struggling to stay in the top 10 today. Moving on to Xenosity in 9th. Kind of in that same boat, kind of stayed within just around hovering this top 10 phase. Yep, MVP has made his pit stop, so he's going to then lose that time. King Cameron also the pit road. So maybe we can expect Xenosity to gain up a lot of time as well, along with Tomato Drifts. Currently sitting 10th. Tomato, he started well. He started close to that top 5, but he's kind of been falling back. So let's see if he can recover in this final stretch of the race here. So MVP, he just made his pit stop. He just exited pit road. He's in turn 2 now. And he's only fallen back to 4th. So track position-wise, he has it down with strategy. But we're going to see if he can hold out all the way towards the end of the race, because now he's about 9, almost 10 seconds back from the leader, which is Frodo. But we can expect a lot of these guys to go down into pit road, and obviously the gaps shrank. Like I said, they shrank very quickly, being able to go into pit stops and cycle out the strategies here. So could get really close here towards the end.
Yeah, for sure. And this is we're getting into the area now where people are making their final pit stops, right? There's 11 laps left. And the good thing with it for MVP is the fact that he was the first person in. So now he dictates what everyone else is doing pit stop wise, right? They're all going
Next
to be
two in.
following off of him now. Yeah, no, now they're all going to be following off of him. So that was a really smart move there by MVP to maybe put a little early where his tires might be worse than a lot of other people's near the end. However, he's now dictating when everyone's going in.
And so Devon, FM, and NWR Silent, they now have made their pit stops. We're riding along with Tython here because he was very close to Amoeba. He might be close to making a move here soon, as now some cars are merging. There's Silent there on the screen. So he just cycled out of pit road as well. He's going to be battling side by side with Amoeba and Tython heading into turn 2. Very close there. Silent on the new tires. He's going to have more grip here eventually, but they need to get a little bit warm first, and you can't do that in 2 corners. It's going to take roughly just a handful of corners. It's going to take about 3 to 5 turns before your tires are officially warmed up, which is faster than real life. Real life is going to take almost a full lap for your tires to get up to temperature. But here in Forza Motorsport, only going to take a handful of corners.
Yeah, and Tyson going in that deep, I think his goal was to shut the door on Silent so that he couldn't slot in between him and Amoeba. That's the one name that always gets me.
Blacken now to pit road. See
Oh,
that?
yeah.
Sorry to cut you off.
That's
Blacken
later
to pit road. And that's going to be big because now MVP is really far ahead, and it looks like Tython and Amoeba are going to make their way to pit road as well. So now MVP just passed Blackened, and here it's going to be 9 laps to go. This is where we're kind of seeing the pit strategy cycle out. MVP hit it dead on when he needed to go into pits.
For sure. And again, I think that was a big thing for him is that he was really good on pit strategy. I think that's been part of the reason why he has such a big lead as he does, is he's been on the right pit strategy this entire time. And he's been one of the first people to go in. So he's been dictating a lot of people's pit stops, because some people don't even have a pit strategy going into the races. They just kind of base it off what everyone else is doing, kind of matching up when everyone's going in. So if you're the first person in, you can dictate a couple people's pit strategies and really shift the table in your favor.
Oracle and Rewar, now 2 drivers all the way in the back, making their pit stops now. And we're seeing the race kind of play out here as guys are more starting to make their final pit strategies. I don't expect the actual leaderboard to change too much in the areas that we're seeing in now. So, but we never know. We still have a handful of laps here, as now MVP is now on lap 33. So 37 is the cutoff. So we still have around 4 laps for a caution to happen. Although, like we said, we don't really see cautions too much at road courses, if we do have any, because I believe there was a couple races that we ran last season that went caution free. You know, and one of the surprising ones was actually Eagle Rock. But for the most part, road courses, not going to see as much cautions as we did at Daytona.
No, for sure, and that goes for all road courses, not just Ohio. It's because, again, like we said at the top of the broadcast, it's just so much more spread out, right? It's not Daytona, like we said, where you're inches apart. Every inch is another could be another position or two, and where you have a car to your left, right, front, and a car off track up ahead of him is Ty here.
Yeah, that's Ty.
He gets back on the track without problem. But like I said, you have cars all around you within inches of you. So one small mistake and there goes the entire field. Where at road courses, everyone's spread out. You can see it on the map right now. There's not really anyone who's in super close proximity. You have a couple cars, maybe 1 or 2 next to each other, but you don't have many people around you.
And the key differences that we're going to see and point out here and how some guys managed their pit strategy and some didn't, really, it won't be until the final handful of laps, until the final 3-4 laps, because that's when we're going to see guys who decided to pit in, like MVP and he's going to have very little grip left on his tires towards the end of the race. Meanwhile, guys who then pitted later than him, they're going to have significantly more grip. So maybe he's running this strategy like to get out of Dodge strat here towards the end. He's hoping to pull enough distance so then when he eventually loses grip towards the end of the race, it's going to be enough time gap between him and the car behind him that he can afford to lose that little bit of time but still be ahead.
Yeah, and again, it's all about the threshold that you feel comfortable with the tires, right? What point do the tires get to where you feel like you lose a lot of your speed, a lot of your momentum? And that's different for every single person on this track, right? Some people, they can drive their tires all the way to 50, 60%, 70%, 80%, and they'll be fine. Other people need to pit earlier than some others because of their tire percentage. So if MVP thinks he can last a long time with these tires, he might be on a great strategy here.
Could be. Now just a handful, around 3 laps away from being able to officially deem this race official in terms of cautions. Silent now past EMC Vision for 3rd place. So these two guys, they're getting close together towards the final portions of this race. So Silent, he's able to keep up that momentum. Vision still in position, obviously, to try and get a top 3 out of this race. But you never quite know what can happen here towards the end. What's going to be the difference in the grip levels of everyone's tires and how well can they manage it?
Yeah, and again, the tires are the biggest factor of this race, right? Fuel you can get on pit stops, but you're going to be going into pits for tires, and tire wear is going to be the biggest factor of this race. It's going to be what people decide their pit strategy is on. So if you have better grip, if you have a higher percentage, you have better grip than people around you. So it's kind of a balancing act between going as far as you can and getting that pit strategy as good as you can, and getting as much grip as you can.
So now Silent getting around Vision, him making up more time and now pulling a gap here. Silent can now see Frodo in front of him, and I think he's slowly catching him a little bit too. So Silent could be on a hot run right now with a lot of grip left in his tires, trying to make a run for it. Could get up to 2nd, but obviously unless we see a huge tire fall off from MVP towards the end, there's no catching him at the moment.
Yeah, and I think he has a big enough gap with 5 laps to go where it may not matter unless he gets hit by a lap car or something, which he's in a fair bit of traffic with lap cars now. So if people were going to catch him, now would be the time.
So here we see the difference. Yeah, 2 lap cars in front of him. MVP going to deal with Ray's Peasant here, and then Jankum is ahead of him. Was right on the game camera. Yeah, a handful of lap cars in front of MVP. He sees 17th, 16th, 15th, and it looks like 14th too. He's able to see in front of him, and he's going to catch this traffic. As now, leader has now hit lap 37. This race is deemed official. So it will be a caution-free event here for XRS as Jankum and Rays go off track. Jankum looks like that was accidental off track. I don't think he meant to actually get out of the way.
But Devin, while he is 13 seconds back from the leader, he is very much catching him at a very good rate. Just in those last 2 corners, he's gained 0.2.
Right now, yeah, MVP, he feels like he still has a lot of grip left, but oh, they're almost lost it. So we're going to see in these final handful of laps how much grip he's still going to have left in those tires. But he's going to be running faster in comparison to all this lap traffic because of the separation of lap time. So this is what makes it difficult towards the end of these races. It's going to be difficult because even though you might be, like the cars ahead of him, they might have fresher tires than MVP, but they still run slower laps in comparison to him. So a slow lap for MVP might be around minute 20 or so, minute 21s, when minute 19s are possible. But for guys here in the back, they're lucky to run a minute 24s and minute 25s there on average speed. So since they're running slower lap times in general and they're on faster tires and MVP is faster than them but on slower tires, it makes it to where he still can catch him at a pretty good rate here. As a car went ahead off track, that was Oracle who went off track. That allows Kart Racer and Rewar to get side by side. So if Rewar and Oracle, they remain battling out here, now MVP will definitely catch him before the end of the race.
Yeah, and that could be both a good thing and a bad thing. Is catching lap cars is going to slow him down. Devin's gained almost half a second in these last 2 laps, which yes, it isn't enough for to catch him by the end of the.
Yeah, not enough to catch him before the end of the race for sure, unless we do see that severe tire fall off. So that's something we haven't necessarily seen yet, although now a lot of time being lost here. It just went from 12.9 to now 12.6.7. And it looks like MVP, he's kind of taking his time here getting around that lap traffic. Oracle, very loose, able to hang on to it. But MVP gets around him. So this is going to be just a matter of can MVP navigate through the traffic all well, but then also can he manage his tire grip here in the final handful of laps. Around 3 laps to go now.
Yeah, Devin again another 0.75 seconds on that lap that he gained, 0.5 give or take. So he is catching, and he is catching at a fairly good rate, but it's not going to be quite enough to actually be able to catch MVP unless MVP makes a big mistake here.
Well, we have the time here. Let's see if there's anybody having close battles behind him. It looks like no one is super close to each other. I mean, Vision and Cameron, there's someone in vicinity of each other right now. Legend's actually off track in front of Vision, but it doesn't look like... Vision might catch Cameron towards the end here, but I don't know if he's actually catching him. So, Blackened and Silent, there's someone in close proximity to each other as well, but I don't think it will be close to the end unless tire fall off become a significant factor. In the meantime,
The other thing,
back up to MVP. Go ahead.
the other thing we also have to think about here is that for every person MVP passes lap car wise, that's another person that Devin has to pass as well. So it's not just MVP now contending with the amounts of lap traffic. Devin is also trying to compete and trying to get around this lap traffic. He's right next to Jakeem right now in 17th, and he has Rays in 16th in front of him.
Yep, so still a handful of cars back. But now that's 12.4 seconds, so it's definitely gone down here. 2 laps to go. But I would have expected to maybe see the tire fall off now. But as of right now, I'm not seeing that severe fall off, so I don't believe Frodo or Devin is going to have enough time to get to MVP. Even if his tires start to fall off now, he's not going to have enough to catch him. 12.2 now, so you definitely see that little bit of fall off.
It would take something like MVP fully spinning around for Devin to be able to do something about this race right now.
And here we go. MVP crosses the line. We're at the white flag lap. It's 1 lap to go here at Mid-Ohio. MVP looking like he worked out a pretty good strategy for himself, but he still has to get around 1 more lap. We're around a bunch of lap traffic. We're going to see if there's some severe tire fall off, but as of right now, it doesn't look like we're going to see that.
No, and if I'm MVP, I'm not sending these corners. I'm braking even earlier than what I think I have to. I'm making sure that there's no physical way that I'm going to get spun around, right? You don't have to pass these lap cars ahead of you. They're not, the race lead right now. They're back in 13th. They're almost a lap down. So I'd be taking this track very careful to ensure that I'm not going to get spun around or tap by a lap car, get spun around or anything.
Yeah, and you kind of see him doing that right now. He's not going as fast as he would have in the previous laps. He's sort of babying it around the corners because he has the time. It's over a 12-second lead approaching into these final 3 quarters. And it looks like the pit strategy game is something that played off in MVP's favor all the way from the start. And now here off the final couple corners, MVP is going to get his first win here at Mid-Ohio on the season.
Yeah, and I mean, he was just dominant all day. He had the right pit strategy, which gave him a huge boost, but also he was just fast all day. He was just always up front, always there for at least, I don't think he went any farther than back to 5th, besides going for pit stops. So it was just a really good race for him all in all.
So it looks like top 5 have now finished the race. Is going to be MVP, the leader, Devin FM or Frodo, second. NWR Silent, able to recover from a couple mistakes that he made in the first portion of the race, gets a top 3. JSR Blackened could not recover from when he was in the lead earlier, and is going to round off the day P4. King Cameron P5. So looks like Vision will finish P6. Wasn't able to get close to that top 5 towards the end. LMP Amoeba rounding off the day with 7th. Xenosity in 8th. Titan 9th. And Tomato just crossed the line to complete the top 10. So that will be your top 10 unofficial finishing order, obviously, because we still need to verify if there's any clips that anyone wants to have verified. There was no caution, so there was no actual incident that grouped the field back together. They will need to be looked at, but you never know what could have happened and what could have been recorded towards the back. But great overall day for MVP. He's able to get it done, winning at Mid-Ohio. Alright, so looks like Oracle and MVP's AI got in together. Alright, there we go. The lobby has now wrapped up. And here, once we actually get loaded back up, we're going to see if we can go ahead. We can try to get these guys in top 3 for interviews. Let's go ahead try to get top 3 in here for post-race interviews. We're going to see if they accept those post-race interviews as well. There we go. Yep. Let's see here. Looks like then silent, then joined. There we go.
At all 3.
Yep, so all 3. You all can go ahead, include your audio when you can, and then we will get audio checks underway here. That sounded so weird on the stream playback, but okay.
All I'm gonna say is what a bounce back from last weekend.
Yeah, last weekend was a fucking treat.
I can't ever escape Daytona.
I was doing
No
fine.
one
I
ever
would've got
does.
like probably P8, and then Rays decided to block 3 different lanes at once and killed half the field, so that was fun.
Here,
I should've-
silent, you there? You able to do a mic check?
I should have
Yeah.
never pitted.
Oh, I don't know if you heard it the first time.
Hey, he actually talks.
Sometime.
Sometimes.
All right. All right, so I've adjusted your guys' audio, so hopefully it is going to be good for post-race interviews here. So just the way that it works real quick, AK will interview 3rd and 2nd place, and then I will interview the winner. So we can go ahead and get started. AK, you can go ahead, take it away with 3rd place.
Yeah, so obviously 3rd place today we have Silent. A good race all around. Let's say you qualified up front and finished up front all in the same race, so it was really good for you. I mean, how did you do it today? How were you able to keep with it? Because obviously there was a couple times, might have gone off track, lost a couple spots, but you were able to obviously just keep your head in the game and continue forward. So how were you able to do that here today?
Honestly, I had no idea what strat was for tires, so just did my own thing, honestly. Soft, medium, soft, slightly off in terms of pace wise overall, but I thought that was the best move for me. Had some stint out front. That was nice clean air, it was good, but didn't end up working in the end. But honestly, those guys in front, Frodo and RZX were flying, so just how it ends up.
Obviously, a huge adjustment from last week's race to here. Obviously, we went from a super speedway now to a road course. So how do you transition from that on a week to week basis when we're going from again the super speedways down to a road course?
It's funny. I tell you what, I have more experience on road courses than ovals. I don't understand. Daytona qualifying was very bad for me. I don't know how people do the qualifying and running that as smoothly as they can. But honestly, I feel more comfortable on road courses. Car was kind of slidey, but once you get it under control, it was pretty good.
Obviously, today was ran caution free, so a lot of people got the hang of this road course. What do you think the biggest thing for this track was here today? How do you think people should be attacking this track?
Uh, it's a good one. I think minimizing tire spins on exits, getting a good entry, and then getting a very good exit where you're not spinning the tires helps you get a good launch. I could see at certain places where people were losing time because their exits might have been a little off or they were sliding slightly exiting the corner, so they would lose time, which I was doing myself at times. But I think it was just having a good corner rotation and a good exit. It's how you were going to get some pace.
Well, congrats on the top three today. Great race for yourself, and good luck heading into the rest of the season.
Appreciate it. Thanks for the talk.
We'll move on to second place now. Devin or Frodo or whatever the hell he wants us to call him.
I don't care either way.
Sounds good. Me and Fan were a little confused on which one to use in the booth, so we kind of interchanged it. But obviously, second place here today, so congratulations first on that. Again, what was your game plan coming in for today's race?
Um, Bro, I was kind of banking on a later-ish yellow to try to do a mediums and then soft like how MVP did, but that ended out not happening. So I kind of just committed to a medium soft, which in reality didn't work out fully as planned. But stayed on it, finished P2. So yeah.
Like you said, caution free throughout the race. I don't think many people would be expecting that, but when it does happen, how do you kind of change the mindset? How do you change the strategy to get ready for an all green race?
More preserving. What's the word? Mistake maintenance, essentially. Just trying not to mess up, run your own race instead of trying to race somebody else that's a mile ahead of you, which you're not going to gain. So
And obviously, obviously, it was a great performance for you today. So I think you hit on most of the keys. But what do you think yourself, looking at this racetrack? What do you think the keys are for this race?
for a track like this, the biggest thing is probably just carrying momentum because of how the corners, especially the second sector, it's a very momentum based and flowing section. So if you mess up the first part of it or even the exit of it, it can kill your entire lap and kill a bunch of momentum. So, and especially because of how sensitive these cars are in the game, one little mess up can ruin an entire lap, and in this case, it could ruin an entire race.
Well, congratulations on the second place finish today. Really good race run by you as well. And good luck coming into the rest of the season.
There you go.
Now, Fan with first place.
All right, thank you. So now we move on here to the race winner, RZXU5A MVP. MVP prior to this race, I saw you in the chat. You had a lot of confidence. Did that confidence translate as well as you thought it did? Because I also heard before you entered in here you needed to change up your strategy a bit. So where did that kind of flow in to wanting to need to change your strategy?
Well, thankfully, with a different lead race last night, also being Mid Ohio, I had laps already ran on here, which did help the confidence, even though it was a different tune. And then strategy-wise, I think me and JSR Blacken, we're going to try a one-stop. And the moment I realized tires were going to really start dying out like 3, 4 laps too soon on that is when I bailed out and realized I could make it on softs.
So it came down to pretty much you wanted to have. We saw the differences in speed right away. You being able to kind of pass by cars who were towards the end of their strategies that looked like they weren't even moving in comparison to how fast you were there towards the end. You were able to pull off that 12 plus second gap towards the end of the race there in the closing laps. Was it going to cross your mind that you were going to deal with as much lap traffic as you did, and you thought that could be, oh, I got to be really careful here, but you also had that 12-second lead to play with? So there towards the end, were you being ultra conservative, or what was kind of going through your mind in those handful of final laps?
Kinda. I was just maintaining where I was wanting to brake, especially in the like only areas you can really actually pass. If I would have caught them more like middle section, there's only like one spot, and that's if they miss their line. But truly, it's like just the start of the track is where you can kind of make your passes, and that's about it.
All right, and then as AK has also asked Silent and Frodo here that going through this transition of Daytona last week to Mid Ohio this week, making that big jump, how does that alter your style of racing? Obviously, Daytona going to be very different from a track like this, Mid Ohio, especially being then a tougher road course. So, what kind of mindset game does that play, and how do you then prep for a transition like that?
Well, Frodo and Silent both kind of knocked it. Yes, these cars can be sensitive, but also this track is super sensitive with the constant like ups and downs. You don't really want all that tire spin, and you want to maintain that flow. It's like they both hit it on the head. It's just if you have both of that and can handle the ups and downs of that this track gives you, you can do just fine on this track.
All right. So obviously today you get the win. It is going to feel good. Going to keep carrying that momentum for other races heading in forward. As we then move into next week. Next week back to an oval, but we're to Eagle Rock. So going from then here to Eagle Rock, uh, do you think this kind of momentum is going to carry forward? Are you expecting a good performance at Eagle Rock next week, or you're going to get there when you get there?
Uh, expect expecting a strategy difference. I should be fine. Last time we raced there with these cars, I thought I had the perfect strat, and then Tython pulled off a hell of a mediums the whole race, which kind of ruined it. But I had a good strategy last time. I feel confident with my pace there that I should still be able to do just fine.
All right. Well, good luck to you and all three of you. Good luck to y'all heading into next week. MVB, congrats on the win, and we will see you later next week. Or, sorry,
Thank
two
you.
weeks from now, as next week is our Daytona 500. I keep forgetting about that. So now, that's going to wrap up post-race interviews. You guys can elect to stay until the stream's over. Up to you, or you can go off, do whatever. So, here today, AK. Right as we talked about at the very start of the stream, we definitely saw a very different race from what we were going to see in comparison to Daytona. Some final thoughts here before we end the stream for tonight.
I mean, yeah, very different. We had what, six, seven cautions at Daytona. We'd run through this one completely caution free. I mean, obviously, not the most exciting race to watch, but I know the drivers definitely appreciate when the caution free races happen. And it's also a sign that the racing skill is good. It's high. We're not seeing people crashing into each other, making unnecessary moves, making dive bombs when they maybe shouldn't be or when they're too deep. But overall, it's good, and it was really good racing overall. We have seen still some action, right? It's that tight racing, beating and banging in a corner or sending a corner, or people maybe sending it a little too deep, but then making the smart decision just to go off track and avoid everyone. Overall, it was a really good race. It was a really good skill-wise race, and I think the racers definitely enjoyed it, and so did I.
All right, always good to have you here in the booth once again for this week, AK. Uh, moving into then next week, what the racing will be next week. We're going back to Daytona, but this time it's going to be on a much larger scale. We raced just over 80 laps. We're around 80 laps the very first race to start off this season. Get ready for 200. It's going to be 200 laps, 500 miles of racing at the World Center of Racing, Daytona International Speedway. It is going to be a doozy handling around that one. And hopefully, we did make some adjustments. We're going to be running an alternative tune comparison to what we ran at the season opener. So we're expecting to see lower speeds than what we were seeing before, and hopefully trying to improve the grip levels as well. So then it's going to be more maintained, it's going to be more upkept, so that can hopefully help with reducing the caution count that we could expect for the 500. But it's going to be a start of a well-written chapter here for the premium live events that we expect to hold here throughout the year. There's going to be the first of the Triple Crown, the Daytona 500, and then later on this year we expect to host a Miami 600. So that will be a representation of the Coca-Cola 600, and then the Brickyard 400, same namesake for NASCAR IRL as well. So those will be 3 Triple Crown races, and we kick that off next week. The sign-ups and registration should be posted tomorrow. We are still getting a couple things squared away on those forms, because obviously next week going to work completely different from this race today. So, AK, we will see you then at Daytona next week for the 500, and then afterwards Eagle Rock to continue on to race 3 for XRS Cup Season 14. For now, that's going to end the stream for tonight. Thank you all for watching and tuning in, and hopefully we will